art. It is everywhere you look and listen throughout Aurora. From our very visible public spaces, even along the under construction Aurora light rail line along I-225, to inside our recreation centers and our theater stages. Many of us say that's a great thing because art attracts visitors to our city, energizes town centers, and creates great community gathering places, all that enhance the quality of our lives. It may even add a smile to your face. It does, especially when I paint it. Most of what Aurora has to offer culturally is thanks to one very dedicated and longtime city employee. Up next, a conversation with Aurora's Manager of Cultural Services, Alice Lee Main. We'll take you on a journey to explore Aurora's cultural history and learn and find out a glimpse of some of the great things to come, artistically speaking, for the summer and beyond. That is coming up next on Dateline Aurora. Welcome to Dateline Aurora. I'm Adam Dempsey. She's danced, sung Broadway show tunes, and performed professionally countless times. For as long as Alice Lee Main can remember, a passion for the arts has been a driving force in her life. When she moved to Colorado in the 1970s from St. Louis, same thing I did, she began sharing that love of arts through teaching dance here in Aurora. Little did she know it would become the key thing of it would kick off, make it an art and cultural evolution in our city. While Alice Lee Main is quick to point out, she didn't do all of that alone, but rather with help from equally committed staff and volunteers during the past 40 years. It's pretty safe to say she's had a very important role in moving Aurora into Colorado's cultural spotlight. Alice Lee Main, the director of Aurora's Cultural Services Division, the cultural guru. Welcome to Dateline Aurora, and if I can't read better today, throw something at me. You know, hi.
That's okay, hi.
Great, culture's been great with you. How did you get started in it?
Well, as you say, it started in St. Louis. I started dance lessons as a very young child, and then by the time I was 8, I was also taking piano lessons.
And you just love it, right?
And I just loved it. It just became a part of my life. I then went on and majored in theater in college. I danced on a few local TV shows. I sang in a place called Gaslight Square in St. Louis.
Oh, Gaslight Square. Everybody went there for graduation. See.
Well, I sang there at one of the night spots, yes.
No kidding.
Yes, I did.
Oh.
For a couple of years. After I was out of college, I had a regular daytime job, and I waited tables and sang on the weekends there. It was fun.
So a lot of people moved here from St. Louis, so they know what Gaslight Square is.
Yes.
No doubt about that.
Yes.
In case Coloradans want to know, it's like Larimer Square, but it's in St. Louis, okay?
Right.
All right, that'll take care of that. What about your love for Colorado? You said when you came here in the 70s, there were only like 80,000 residents. You have seen this town grow a lot.
In Aurora, yes. It was very small when I started working for the city of Aurora, and I started by teaching dance classes. I had 7 that first year, and by the first semester, and then by the next time I had 16. After about a year, I had to start hiring other dance teachers to help me because there were more classes than I could handle.
Really?
I started the theater company and the children's theater company. Where I came from, we had a community theater, so I just thought we needed to have one here too.
So you've just gone from one project to the next, to the next, to the next. That variety's got to be exciting to have a job where you can do that kind of outreach, that kind of play, in essence, and have a great time with it.
It was, because there really wasn't that much going on in Aurora. It was a small city at the time, 80,000 people, and there were just so many things that needed to happen. Yeah. And every time we came up with an idea, or someone came to me with an idea, we just figured out a way to get it started, and Aurora started to grow, and we just grew with it. So it's kind of like, watching a child grow up, where you just keep going all along and provide things that the citizens want. If citizens want something and we don't have that, we need to provide it for them and figure out a way to do it or make it happen.
And making things happen, there's a lot of things that are happening this summer. Tell us some of the things that are going on that are coming up?
Well, we have children's theater productions at the Fox. We're just finishing up Snow Queen, and then we have another children's production, and that's with children performing, which is something I did when I was a child, and my daughters performed there when she was a child. We have the music concerts in the parks every Thursday night. We have 7 of those coming up.
And you're doing some construction or something to it?
Yes, right next door to the Municipal Center, the Aurora History Museum has an addition going up to house a trolley trailer number 610. It's a 1913 trailer. The trailer, the second part of the trolley, when they needed to get more people on. It's similar to what we used to call in St. Louis the streetcars.
The streetcars?
Yes.
Yes, I call these things downtown streetcars too, and they get all upset about it.
I know, but it's a trolley. And it was found in 2006. Yeah. And
it's been restored and everything?
It's been restored, very lovingly restored by members of the Aurora Museum Foundation and some local craftsmen, and all the funding came from the foundation. They raised the money.
Wow.
It looks like it probably did in 1913 when it was brand new, but it's been sitting in the storage unit for a couple of years, and now the city is adding on to the Aurora History Museum, and it will have a home, and there will be exhibits about the transportation system then and now. And look at what we have now with the light rail and the fast tracks, very similar to what we had back when we had the trolley and the streetcars.
So when's the completion expected to be?
This fall.
This fall?
Probably early September.
Okay.
And we'll have a grand opening at some point, and there'll be exhibits explaining. And then the young people that come to the museum can learn all about the history of that type of transportation.
Well, I think when we open the light rail, we ought to put it on a flatbed and run it up and down 225 so it can have one more roll again. Speaking of other major things happening, it's the 30th anniversary of Aurora Fox Arts Center.
Yes.
That's a theater you just pulled right out of the ashes on Koufax.
Yes, we did. Yes, there was a fire. And then we had the Aurora Symphony at the time, and the singers, and the theater company, and we had a Sweet Adelines group and a jazz group, and we were always performing in whatever school, on a platform in the lunchroom at the senior center, and they didn't have a home. Right. So the Aurora Arts and Humanities Council and a bunch of citizens talked the city into purchasing the Fox after the fire. Yeah. And we renovated it, and it opened in March 1985. With a big splashy weekend full of Broadway-type opening, red carpet, the whole bit.
I know there's probably a lot of controversy then. Shall we save this old motion picture theater or not? And you all said, no, we need a place, and that's it.
And that's it. And it is a historic landmark because it's a Quonset hut from World War II. It didn't change the exterior. But then we had the community theater group, and it started as the community theater group moving in along with the orchestra and the singers and some of the other groups, and it's evolved, and for the last 5 or 6 years now it's a professional equity theater.
Yeah, oh that is really, really great. Something else that's great too, the Aurora Symphony has a new director, I understand.
Yes, they do.
Give us some insight regarding that.
The Aurora Symphony was started back in the late 70s. It was called the Aurora Civic Orchestra, and we gradually, it was under the city at that time when we started it for the first 20 or so years. Then we gradually eased it off over a period of time to become a nonprofit so they'd go out in the community and raise more money. Yeah. Anyway, their new director, their previous director was here for 10 years. We spent 2 years with a committee, just like the professional orchestras do.
Had a nationwide search.
Nationwide search.
Okay.
And we had, narrowed it down to 8 semifinalists. They all came into town and conducted a rehearsal. Then we narrowed it down to 5. That took a whole year. Then the next year, during the symphony season, we had each one of those 5 music directors take the orchestra from start to finish to do one concert. Wow. Then we had surveys with the audience, with the symphony orchestra members themselves. There was an evaluation So it was a 2-year process to find the new director to take them to the next step.
I mean, that had to be great to find candidates that were still interested after 2 years, because creative types, oh, we want to direct right now.
Right
you know,
now.
we're not going to wait. So
Right. Right.
to go through that process and generate a wonderful person that you have now.
But you need to find
gotta be
just the
fun.
right person that understands what's still mostly a community orchestra, but is out there as a nonprofit trying to take the next step to being, you know, and they have grown so much in the last 10, 12 years, but they need to grow even further.
You know, some people would say, why are you doing that with the issues? The Colorado Symphony Orchestra has been in and out and up and down, and the transition of classical music. But you've made everything else work. This one will work here in Aurora as well.
Yes, they've been around for over 30 years, so I think they will, and I know that Colorado Symphony and other symphony orchestras across the United States, those are the professional ones. These are sort of semi-professional. These people all have other jobs. They don't play as many concerts.
Yeah.
You know, they do a shorter season. They do 4 or 5 concerts a year.
And that'll
They
keep
have
you
some
busy.
smaller groups, like a brass quintet or a string group, that will play for various things for donations. So they have a much smaller budget, obviously,
Now
but they love it.
you did something with forming a singing group back in the day, as they call it,
Yes.
and now the Aurora Singers have a new director as well.
Yes, they too started out as the Aurora Civic Chorus back in the late 70s, and they were a chorus that stood on risers with a book. And
And you did you sing with them then too?
no, I didn't.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I don't perform anymore. I have performed in the dance recitals with TAP a few times
Okay.
with the adults, but they stood on the risers and they sang. Even when we opened the Fox in 1985, they were still at that stage. But they evolved. Again, we spun them off as a nonprofit, gave them time, 5 years or so, to set up their own board of directors and get their nonprofit status.
Yeah.
And they've had different directors. The young lady and the previous directors that were here for 5 or 10 years took them from the book to being performers.
Yeah.
They sing, they move, they dance, they have a theme, they wear costumes. They're totally different than what they were when they started.
Okay.
It was hard for some of them to learn to move around on the stage and dance, but it's worked out just fine. And they have a
Good.
great audience, and of course they changed their name to the Aurora Singers.
And so did you go through a similar process with the director for the Singers too?
Maybe
Maybe not as extensive?
Not quite.
Yeah.
Actually, we had a young man from one of the high schools that was very interested, James Laguna, and so they did go through a process of applications and auditions and that kind of thing, but not over 2 years.
Some of the funding support comes from the SCFD, the Scientific Facilities and Cultural District. That's got to be a boon, because city budgets go back and forth all the time, so some added support from them has really got to be important to you.
Yes, it is. It's a couple $100,000 a year that the City Cultural Services Division gets from the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, and it varies from year to year. But it's very crucial, because that's what allows us to do some additional programs in the community that we normally wouldn't have the funding to do. And because the city funding fluctuates, and of course the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District money fluctuates also, because it's based on a 1/10% sales tax.
Yeah.
But it also
then
funds
would.
over 300 organizations in the 7-county metro area. So we're not the only ones that benefit. Every single cultural organization, the Aurora Symphony and the Aurora Singers, because they're nonprofits and not technically connected with the city, they also get SCFG funding.
Oh, that is terrific. Then do you also collaborate with other cultural organizations across the city?
Yes, actually across the 7-county metro area. Those of us that have been involved for a long time, we formed an organization many, many years ago called the Scientific and Cultural Collaborative, where we pool. This is some of the large organizations, and like the Art Museum and the Arvada Center and the Children's Museum. we pool some of our what's called our discretionary SCFD funding. And by doing that, we are able to do programs. It's all used pretty much for programs in the schools, in the 7-county metro area.
In the schools then, because I was thinking I've seen where certain shows may have been mounted in Arvada, and then the next thing you know, they're on stage in Parker, they're on stage in Lone Tree, and so I didn't know if that kind of collaboration, we're going to bring some extra cultural arts to Aurora as well.
Right, and the Fox has done some performances at the Parker Art Center too. So yes, that's a collaboration. There's other kinds of collaborations. The Children's Museum and the Butterfly Pavilion have a collaboration where you can get a family pass, and it works for both. So they work together on working out the finances so that they can, because that's a common interest with families with children. So the various arts and cultural organizations collaborate in various different ways. And the interesting thing is that that doesn't normally happen in most major cities.
No, it doesn't.
It's usually
everybody's wanting to get their own money and not share.
That is what the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District has helped to do. We have all gotten to know each other, and we have figured out ways to work together.
Everyone sees the construction of I-225's light rail line going in, and at stations, I understand there's public art there.
Yes,
What
there's
did you
going
have
to
to do with
be
that?
8 stations. Well, the Art in Public Places ordinance was established in 1993, and we have over 250 pieces of public art scattered around the city of Aurora. But now with the light rail, this is a totally different opportunity, because you're going to have development happening around many of them. The key one that's going to where we're going to be spending the most for public art is the bridge over Koufax. And that's because that's right there at the Fitzsimmons, where you have all of the hospitals. The Veterans Hospital is going to be built there, the Children's, the Anschutz Medical Campus. They're all right there. And there are more people going to be working there and visiting there. And that bridge will go across Koufax with the light rail. So that station is going to be kind of the gateway. But that's approximately where the original gateway to the Rockies sign was, over Koufax.
So that bridge,
because it was at Potomac.
approximately, well, it's got to be east of 225 then, because the light rail line is coming up east of 225. So to fly it over, you got to cross Koufax, and that's going to be a big, long bridge.
It is, but no, it's on
And
the.
you're gonna have- that's a great art there.
I believe it's on the west side of 225. Yes, yes, it'll be on the west side. But the original Gateway to the Rockies sign that went across Koufax was there at Potomac. So it's.
I always thought that
not
there were
exactly.
2 gateway signs, one at Potomac, and wasn't there another one that was way out where I-70 splits in Koufax? I thought I saw that when I came rolling into town back in the day.
Not if you came from
69
St.
or
Louis.
70.
You saw it when you came on the old Highway 40. Koufax.
No, I came on 70.
Did you?
Yeah, in 69. It was broken, but it got you here.
Oh,
I never thought I saw that sign out there. Then I saw the other one, the big
that
one
was
there,
at Koufax and Potomac.
Summer's in full swing. You talked about some of the concerts and everything that are going on.
Right.
Those will continue.
Every Thursday night. We just had one last Thursday, and that was Buckstein. That was a country group.
And you move them around to Aurora's parks, right?
Yes. Yes, we use Utah Park, Bicentennial Park, Meadowood Park, and we'll have one on the Municipal Center lawn out here right by the library and the museum and the Municipal Center. We'll have the final one will be there, and that's a group called Forever Fab. They're a Beatles.
A Beatles one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that 50th anniversary of the Beatles coming to America has been spread everywhere.
Everywhere, yes.
And what you do in cultural arts now is separate from when the city has its fireworks show. Those are special events.
Yes, those are special events. Up until a few years ago, some of my staff and I were also responsible for that. It's now been moved to a different department to take it over, both Kidsbury and some of the other, and they're adding some other new events, and that's fine, because we always had arts component to some of the events.
Tell us about Art to See on Havana.
Art to See on Havana is...
It's going to be more than the great car dealers we had there with the new cars. I love those
I know.
guys.
Oh, the
but
cruise in Havana.
It'll
yes.
be great to break that up a bit.
Well, it's already this will be the third year, and this is a partnership with the Havana Business Improvement District.
Right.
And what we do is we have 11 pieces up and down Havana in various locations where we actually the artists loan them to us for 1 year. It's juried, and we have a panel of business people and people from the Art and Public Places Commission that make the selection that artists submit. And their work is on loan for a year. They get a stipend, and they get awards, first, second, third place, that type of thing. So the Business District and the Art and Public Places Commission, the city's Art and Public Places Commission, chip in a certain amount of money to provide the stipends and the awards.
So this is between 6th Avenue and like Hamden, where the curve comes, or not
about
down?
Yale. About Yale.
About Yale?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's scattered in different places. There's 11 pieces, and then we have purchased one after the first year that's at the Gardens on Havana.
Okay.
And then next year we'll be adding 2 more locations. As far as we can tell, we have to do the engineering underground stuff to make sure that a pedestal can be put there. But the pieces,
So all the stuff is going to be on PEDs then? Huh?
yeah, almost all of it's on pedestals. The pieces that are up now will go down in September, and the new ones will be up for another year. They'll go in October. So they change out every year with different artists.
Okay, I'm sorry that my cell phone went off and interrupted you. I'm the guy who didn't turn it off. You know,
That's quite all right. That's quite all right.
So if anybody's watching, they heard, where is that noise coming from? Adam didn't turn his cell phone off. Okay, we took. So again, you're going to launch them when again?
The new pieces will go up in October, because the ones that are currently up the artists come and take them down in the end of September.
So is that going to be? Are they going to rotate those then throughout the year?
Yes.
Okay.
So, they don't rotate them. The piece, wherever it's placed, will stay up for a year.
Okay. But it's not a permanent piece? Though.
No, it's not going to be there forever.
So if an
like
artist,
the other public art.
If an artist like us wants to do something, who does sculpture, then they can get a hold of your office and figure out when the rotation is going to occur, so at least they can have their work reviewed or juried, or whatever it's called.
Actually, yes, you have to put it in an application. I think you have, for the next go-around, I think you have till July. You don't have much time, till July 13th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
But you can go on the city website, and the Art and Public Places, and it'll give you all the information, because you apply through the Western State Arts Foundation website, CAFE, where artists register for free, and then you can see all of the call for entries that anybody's putting out there.
Wow, wow.
So
everything
we
you can
do
see,
this.
all your
Everything's
competitors are doing.
computerized now.
This isn't a job. You have one of those wonderful, it's not even work. This is a love. It's fun. You don't retire from that at all.
No. No,
Not
you
at
don't.
all. You didn't even think in those terms. You can't even spell the word, right?
No.
At all.
Well, it would be nice to have a few months to get all of my archive paper stuff from the pre-computers that's in boxes that really needs to go in the archives at the History Museum to go through and pick out what needs to be kept.
Right.
Because keep in mind that, well, with the city, I didn't have a computer at work until 1998, so everything previous to that's on paper. Now it can be digitized by the museum and all that kind of stuff. But I have a lot of things that that are related to the history of Aurora that need need to be preserved.
So that's the what's next for
That's
you
the
is
next.
making
That
sure
would
you
take-
get that done.
Yeah, that would take many, many months. So maybe after I get that finished, if I ever find time in between everything else to do that part of it.
And
If not, I'll come back as a volunteer and do it after I do retire.
and you're going to do some of your own singing and dancing again? Playing, maybe?
I
'Cause
don't
I
know.
heard you played the upright bass, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh, really?
I played it both ways.
And you still have one in your house someplace you're not telling
No, I
anybody
don't.
about?
I don't have
Bad
one.
days come up, you go hit some licks on
I
the
do have a
bass.
grand piano, but, and I have a guitar that sits in the case right next to the grand piano, and that hasn't been played in years either.
Yeah.
But no, I started playing the string bass when I was in high school, in the high school orchestra. And then I wanted to play in a band, so some friends of mine and I started a band, and we used to play for wedding receptions and stuff.
Really?
And then when I was in college, my high school string bass or string teacher played with the St. Louis Symphony, but he also had a trio that played at one of the big fancy hotels downtown, the Lenox Hotel, in the restaurant, where they stroll around and play. Well, whenever his bass player wanted a night off, I used to get to play with the trio, and I would get paid to play for it instead of just, you know, playing for fun.
So with the Aurora Orchestra, then you can sit in on a few. You can still read.
Probably. I can still read the music.
See, you know.
But it might
Go on, it's okay.
Might take a while to get the fingers working
We're
again.
artists. We want to play. We want to paint. We want to do all
We want to
stuff,
do it all.
you know.
Yes.
And people who want to do everything and all of our stuff in Aurora, this is how you find out exactly what's going on, right? You have the recreation guide here, and we have the newsletter that's always available that you put out, so everybody can get a hold of these and know what's going on. Tear out sheets, post it on the refrigerator, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah,
Or you could.
And that comes out every couple of months. So it usually just has about the next couple of months in there.
And you can also go online to auroragov.org/things to do and culture.
Yes.
So they have places to go and things to do. We've had a fast half hour. Now, people who want to get involved, you said, do you have volunteers sometimes
Yes.
that help with the
we have
events?
volunteers in all areas.
Now, would they go online, or do they call your office directly if they want to volunteer to get some things done?
They can
in
go
the arts?
online, or they can call my office directly, and I can put them in the right direction. We use volunteer ushers at the Aurora Fox. We use volunteers. We have 4 boards and commissions that the people can serve on. We need some people on the Cultural Affairs Commission right now. We have a couple openings coming up on the Art and Public Places Commission. We have the Historic Preservation Commission, and the Fox Board needs people always to be volunteer. Those are 3-year terms.
Right, and you have to live in Aurora.
That you have to live in Aurora, yes.
For any of them?
For any of them except the Fox. The Fox has 5 spaces where you own property or you work in Aurora you can serve.
Okay, the reason why I say that is sometimes our cable lines go beyond the city.
Right.
And so
now
people
that's
want
just
become
to serve
involved.
on the boards and commissions, but you don't have to live in Aurora to volunteer to be an usher at the Fox.
Yeah.
Or to
Come
help
on
in
down.
some other way. Well, and the Fox is very close to the border between Denver and Aurora, so we get huge audiences come to the Fox from Denver.
It's got to be tremendous to see you came to Colorado, came to Aurora, and now you've created a whole arts legacy.
I never dreamed
for the city.
either when I started by teaching dance lessons that all of this would
See what happens?
But Aurora
when
was
you get
a
started?
growing up city, and so we just kind of grew with it. All
yeah.
the different people, all the volunteers, all the staff, everybody, we just grew with it.
Well, it's good to see you again.
You too.
Everybody get a copy of the recreational guide and the cultural events newsletter so that you can support and go out and enjoy all the culture and arts that we have right here in Aurora. So thank you for joining us. That's all we have for this edition of Dateline Aurora.